All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Aligned and Ambitious TV. I'm really excited about this episode just because we finally finished our YouTube backdrop. We have been painting and hanging, and the neon sign is finally up, so I'm really excited for a fresh look and fresh energy in the office. Now for today's episode, we're going to be talking about my favorite B word, and that is boundaries. We are going to be talking about how to set and enforce boundaries as a business owner. I was taught that boundaries are around communication with your clients, and that's totally true. That's something that we're going to talk about today, but I have found that there are boundaries that we have to be clear on and set and enforce in all areas of the business, not just client communication. So the first boundary I want to talk about is around social media. Around how much time you're spending on social media, around how long you're actually consuming content. When I started setting boundaries around my phone and social media, the game changed. I had way more space, I had way more focus, I had way more energy. So I want to share with you some tips on how to enforce your own boundaries and be disciplined around your amount of consuming and being on social media. So the first thing I did that I recommend all of my clients do, in fact, it's the one thing that I basically force them all to do because it's so healthy: turn your notifications off. The only notification I have on my phone is for Stripe. So the only time my phone is going off is if I'm getting paid, and that is a really healthy notification to have on. But Instagram, Facebook, email, Slack, Asana, it is all on Do Not Disturb. My calls and my texts are on Do Not Disturb. I'm telling you, the only time my phone goes off is when Stripe is telling me that there's money coming in, which is something I don't mind at all. When you turn off your notifications, you then go on social media by choice. It becomes something that's really intentional rather than a disruptor, because we can be doing something or deep in focus work, and when our phone is just buzzing and going off and taking our focus and energy and attention away from what we're doing, it's so hard to get back into the flow of things. So when I open Instagram, I'm checking it because I want to, not because I'm notified, and that pulls me in and sucks me in. Now, even with the notifications off, I am still the first to admit that I get lost scrolling way more often than I would like. And so something that I recently set up on my iPhone that has been another huge game changer is setting screen time limits. So on iPhones, you can actually go in and select the amount of time that you want to allow yourself on each app of the day. Now, this has been so helpful for me because I set limits around Voxer, around Facebook, and around Instagram. So I get 2 hours a day to scroll and to do what I need to do. Otherwise, it will actually gray out the app. It looks like it needs to be re-downloaded. And you can totally manually bypass it and say ignore the limits, but let me tell you, the urge to pull up the app after the timer has let out is so much smaller than before when it's just sitting there waiting for you. Now, the second piece of boundaries that I want to talk to you guys about today is around your energy. It is so important to protect your energy. It's so important to protect your time. And yes, that does come down to social media and communication with clients. But when it comes to holding boundaries around your energy, it's about, one, knowing where your time is going. Knowing where your time is going with your clients, knowing what you have coming up this week, knowing what your team needs of you, so you don't just get lost in what I like to call the yes trap. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can take that call. Yes, I have time for that. Yes, I have space for that. Because if you don't actually have space and you're falling into the yes trap and you're overcommitting yourself, you're compromising your energy. When you compromise your energy, you're essentially compromising everything else, because when your energy is compromised, it impacts your clients, it impacts your work, it impacts your friends, it impacts your family, it impacts everyone around you. So protecting your energy and protecting your time is huge. Now, like we talked about social media, that plays a part in it, yes. Communicating back and forth with clients, that plays a role in it. Managing your schedule, that plays a part in it. And just learning how to say no. Learning how to say no. That is so huge when it comes to being a business owner. I love saying no. I feel empowered by saying no. I no longer feel like I have to provide a reason when I say no to something. Either I don't have the space, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, and that is that. That is a boundary that I enforce. I'm only on a certain amount of team calls every month. I'm only on a certain amount of client calls every month. I will not coach after certain hours, and I enforce those to the fullest because it protects me, it protects everyone else around me. Okay, now we can talk about client communication. Boundaries around this are huge. Let me first start off by saying that nobody expects you to be on demand. And it's really important to enforce that boundary and set the tone for that relationship when you first sign on your clients, whether it's one-on-one, in your mastermind, or whatever capacity that you guys are working together. So for example, my clients who have Voxer access to me, they know that I will respond between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. If it is not a call day, they know when my call days are, they can expect a response within 2 hours. Now, I'm pretty quick with getting back to them. I will say something I'm actually working on is deleting Voxer over the weekend, because I become just so obsessed and I love working with my clients. I love supporting them that it has become a big habit to go into the app and to check for Voxers and see a message and want to respond. And so I'm really working myself on enforcing that, really fully stepping away on the weekend. It's never that big of an emergency. They never expect me to reply on the weekends. And so really just getting into a new rhythm of on Monday, I play catch up. I get ahead on everything from the weekend, and we're in a fresh week ahead. Something else that's a boundary around client communication is Fridays. Fridays, I only am available until noon. A lot of the times I don't even work on Fridays, but I have so many different clients in so many different time zones that it's really important to me to accommodate them. So I coach until 12 on Fridays. So when it comes to boundaries around your client communication, just be really clear on what feels good to you. When are you available? When are you not available? What is the response time expected? And then when you set those boundaries, make sure to enforce them so everybody has a really, really clear expectation of how the line of communication works between you guys. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to setting boundaries is boundaries around your prices. To enforce the fuck out of the prices that feel empowering to you. I've been working with a lot of my clients on both raising their prices, feeling really, really supported by their prices, and how to handle it when someone says, well, it's too much or I can't afford it. Now, in the past, when I was first starting my business, the way that I would respond to that is, let me make you an extended payment plan. Let me see if there's a coupon I can find for you. I would try to bring myself down to where they were at rather than enforcing my boundaries, saying, this is the cost to work with me. I have an abundance of free resources on my website. I post free content everywhere, podcast, YouTube, Instagram, email marketing. If you can't afford to pay my rates, there are other ways to learn from me that are no cost to you. But a boundary around your pricing means that you stand firm in your rates and you feel good about them and you don't lower them no matter what the objection is. So, there's a lot of different pieces of business that it's important to be really clear on what our boundaries are, because if we don't know what they are, we can't enforce them. And at the end of the day, it all goes back to protecting our time and protecting our energy, because those are our two greatest assets in business. So I hope this episode got the wheels turning. I want you to really think about this, really dig into it, get really clear on your boundaries so you can set them and enforce them in your own business. Okay, so that is all for this week's episode. Hope you guys loved it, and I will see you next week. Bye.